Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. It's almost the end of the year and I slowly started to think about summary of my coloring year, and I decided to make video about my favorite top 10 finished pictures which I colored in 2020. It was difficult choice because you know that I color a lot, and besides, recently I realized that I colored more than 1000 pictures. You know that I have my Instagram dedicated totally for coloring. I don't post there any personal pictures, and I realized that on my Instagram I have more than 1000 posts, and it means that I colored more than 1000 pictures during my coloring journey. So let's start. And the first book, I didn't rate my pictures among those 10 best. It was totally impossible, so I love all of them equally. And picture number 1 will be from Kirby Razanes. I love this book. Unfortunately, I don't color quite often in it, but still, this magical lantern I love with all my heart. First of all, it was picture where I 100% enjoyed coloring with polychromases. They glided on the surface like on silk, and it was a real pleasure to work with them. Then I think that it was quite a wise decision to use contrast between cold colors inside of the lantern and warm colors outside. And I always enjoy coloring something like wood or golden elements or copper. So this picture has a lot of elements which I do love to color. It was fun to color all these ornaments on the lantern, and of course to color this iceberg and cute animals. So this is picture number 1. Number 2 looks a little bit strange because I counted 3 pages in Manuel de Bonheur as 1. I simply wasn't able to select which one to put in my top 10 list, so count this as 1. I do love this Japanese spread. It took me a huge amount of time to finish it because it has so many details, and it required a lot of color calculations because we have various elements: birds, fans, insects, flowers, and I also didn't want to lose like main characters, frog or cat, so I did color planning, and I hope that at least the main characters are visible here. And I do love this Japanese theme which is added to many pictures on Manuel de Bonheur, so that was another reason why I enjoyed coloring it and why I like the final result. Next one. I think that let's talk about this one. And I selected this one because of the unusual colors. For me, color of the wallpapers or a lot of this clay rolls together with purple colors, all of this is a little bit unusual. And this bright yellow as the main color for the main characters, everything was challenging, especially with this dark background. And in the end, I was very pleased how everything looked. And besides, the whole picture is very cute, so of course it's one of my favorites. In 220 I did a lot of pictures in Manuel. I'm very happy with my progress, slowly but steadily I would say, and this one definitely is one of my favorite pictures. And finally, part of my list is this spread. I dedicated to it beginning of the summer. I think that the color along video had had 6 parts, so it was quite long because of so many details. But I do love to color different textures like wood, like stone, like metal here, and I practiced how to color various vegetables and fruits, so it was quite helpful. It was a little bit disappointing that the central part of the page was partly caught in the book's binding, but now when I look at it, I still think that the whole composition looks nice. Probably the most challenging part was to color these balloons. I'm still not very happy how they look, but it was my first attempt, so I realized where I need to practice more. And also it was difficult to select color for the background after so many details. It was my last step, and I am glad that I selected this very natural color which definitely doesn't distract attention from so many animals, birds and interesting things which we have on this spread. So it was number 2 on my list. Number 3 is from Daydreams by Hannah Carson. If you follow my channel, you probably know that Hannah Carson definitely wasn't one of the popular authors for me during this year, and it's a pity because I think that I do miss coloring in her books, but at least one of few pictures which I colored this year I totally like. And this moon hair, as I call it, I love it because it's unusual for me to work in limited color palette. Then I do love this background. It's dark, but still it has nice color gradient. I love that area around hair is highlighted. I love this addition of slightly shiny dots. And I love that the lower part, it helps to add some bright colors, but in the same time it doesn't distract attention from the hair. And look at his face. I would say that he is cute. I love color palette here, and maybe now when I look at it, I do want to repeat it somewhere else on some other pictures. It will be a reminder for me to pay more attention to Hannah Carson's book next year. Now we are moving to the book by Anastasia River, and I selected this portrait. You know that I am not good at coloring portraits, but here I would say that I do love the final result. First of all, I love to color owls, so it was one of the reasons why I selected this page in the first time. But then when I started to color skin, when I started to color hair, I realized that maybe I want to create these very bright elements, her eyes, then ornament on her face, and like small bright elements throughout the page, and everything else is colored in more calm, muted colors. And I do think that here I managed to do acceptable skin tone. Far from perfect, but at least acceptable. And I also love that I managed to add some details from myself on the background, this wigwam or this strange wooden totem carved from the wood. So some details which I added and which this made this page more personal, so to say. And for me it was the easiest portrait which I colored during this year. For all other portraits I struggled much more. Now let's move to the portrait number 2, but it's smaller, so it was easier to color, not so much shading. This picture from Myth and Magic in many areas repeated original colors by the painting of Kinuka craft, but still I love it. I love those details which I colored in my own way, like background or some areas here on the foreground. I do love this contrast between cold colors which helped me to create atmosphere of a winter scene and couple of warm colors like this rose or color of her skin. On the skin I also tried to add a little bit of pale blue to create again winter portrait, and again we have another reason why I love this page. Everything is colored with polychromoses, and I am glad that slowly I start to use them more frequently. I use them almost as often as I use Prismacolors now, and I am glad. Now let's move to Teresa GoodReads books. It was difficult to select because you know that I color a lot of her images. But this time I decided to include just one page. Let me clear my table a little bit from all the bookmarks. And page which I have selected is this one. Maybe it's unusual choice among so many pictures by Teresa GoodReads which I finished this year, but I do love this color combo of orange together with turquoise. And I also enjoyed coloring these jars and kettles made from various textures. You can see this jar I tried to color like it's made from steel, this one made from some kind of terracotta, and this one is from China, so it's a white with some reflections of color. I really tried to calculate how colors which are close to one another will be reflecting in the surfaces. And I do love this unusual color of the fence. I was tired of brown wood, and besides I used brown here on the table, so that. And also I enjoyed coloring this metal watering can, another element which I always enjoy to color. So this was my best finished page in Teresa GoodReads book, in my opinion. Now let's move to Selena Fennick, and here choice also was quite difficult, but in the end I decided to stop at this one because when I colored this page it helped me to learn a lot of the lighting. First of all, here I try to do various textures like these stones, and here we have quite complicated lighting coming from behind the main objects, main characters, so I had to show that they all are highlighted from behind. They have this pale yellow halo around them, especially in the areas which are closer to the light source. So simply this picture was very instructive for me, and I think that it helped me to realize a lot of things about shading and lighting on the pictures. Next, I decided to include in my list this dragon, which I colored recently, probably last month. And I think that I included it in the list not only because I love to color dragons, but because it was quite unexpected coloring, because usually I do quite careful color planning. And here, apart from magenta color for the dragon and idea of beige and brown colors for the shell, I didn't do color planning until I actually started to color it. So addition of this lemon yellow or this blue color. It was like decision during coloring process. And in the end, I do love it. So maybe sometimes I don't have to be such a planner. Maybe sometimes I can do unusual color choices during my coloring and result still will be good. And I also love this one because here I mixed a lot of mediums, starting from pastel watercolors for the background and first layer on the shell, then various pencil brands, even color softs. So this was another reason why I decided to include this page. And finally, you know that Jasmine Beckett Griffith is one of my favorite artists. It's a pity that I can't color in her books more frequently, but of course I wanted to include her pictures in my list, but I wasn't able to make final choice. I do love this one. It's called Absinthe Butterflies, so it helped me to select the main color for the wings, for the butterflies, this bright green. And again, I don't quite often use limited color palettes, and I don't quite often color using such dark colors. But in this book, somehow I managed to use a lot of dark colors and I enjoy it. I am also glad that I managed to make her blonde, but still on her hair you can see additional color accents. That's exactly what I wanted to do. So I do love this page. And second page, which is equally dear for me, is this Pirate Polly. I think that I included it in my list first because it was one of my first attempts to color sea water using pencils. Usually I prefer to do it with watercolors, and here I did it with Prismacolors. Second reason, because I do love her strong spirit, and you can see it from the drawing by Jasmine Beckett Griffith. And third reason is because usually I have a tendency to use traditional colors. So for me, green hair is quite challenging, and I am glad that I stepped out of my comfort zone. And this book is one of my favorites because it really helps me to make unusual color choices, to try something new. So this is my last list in my top 10. I would be happy if you can tell me what my works finished in this year you prefer. Maybe you have some other preferences. And I thank you for listening to me. I hope that finally in couple of days I will start to film all my finished pictures for this year and my whole collection of the books. I hope that I will have more free time. Thanks for watching, and until the next videos.